All right, today we're going to dive into a pretty amazing story from the history of databases. It's a story about a hidden traffic jam, a data bottleneck that was so bad, it was actually holding back huge industries like finance and healthcare. We're going to look at the radical solution that didn't just clear the jam, but basically built a whole new superhighway for information. Let's jump in. I really want to kick things off with this quote because it gets right to the heart of what we're talking about. See, this isn't just a story about machines and code. Nope, we're talking about real-world consequences, changes that literally affected how money moves, how patients are treated, and how governments run. The drama isn't the technology, it's what that technology suddenly made possible. So before we can get to the big breakthrough, we have to really understand the problem they were facing. And trust me, it was a big one. At the highest levels, something was grinding progress to a halt. This was the billion-dollar question, right? Data was just exploding everywhere, but our ability to actually use it wasn't keeping up. And for these critical industries, finance, healthcare, where the stakes are incredibly high, this wasn't just some minor inconvenience, it was a massive roadblock. And that's exactly what it was, a bottleneck. The best way to picture it? Imagine an 8-lane superhighway that suddenly squeezes down into one single tiny lane. That's what was happening with data. You could have these super fast processors and tons of storage, but that sluggish connection between them was creating a system-wide traffic jam. To solve a problem that big, you couldn't just, add another lane to the highway. You needed to completely rethink how the road was built in the first place. And that's where this idea of an engineered solution came in. Okay, now this is the secret sauce. The old way of doing things was you'd buy all your parts separately. You'd get a server from this company, storage from that one, software from another, and you just cross your fingers and hope it all worked together. Well, an engineered system flips that whole idea on its head. It means designing the hardware and the software together from day one as one perfectly tuned machine. For the system we're talking about, Oracle's Exadata, this meant co-designing the database software with the storage hardware. And this let them do something completely radical. They pushed the processing, the thinking, right down into the storage itself. So instead of moving mountains of data to the processor, they moved the processing to the data. That one change is what completely obliterated the bottleneck. So the theory sounds great, right? But like our opening quote said, the drama is in the impact. What actually happened when this thing was unleashed on the real world? This table just lays it out perfectly. I mean, look at finance. They went from slow risk analysis that took days to detecting fraud in real time as it was happening. In healthcare, getting patient records used to be this lagging, painful process. Now, suddenly they had super fast queries and analytics. And for governments that were drowning in these massive separate piles of data, this tech allowed them to build one single national scale system. It was a total game changer. And here's the key takeaway. It wasn't just about making old things faster. Because the thinking was happening right next to the data, it unlocked entirely new things that were just impossible before. Real-time fraud detection wasn't a faster version of an old report. It was a brand new capability. Consolidating a whole country's data wasn't just about being more efficient. It fundamentally changed how a government could see and serve its people. And this really brings us to the whole story arc. We've seen the problem. We've seen the pretty ingenious solution. Now let's just step back and look at the total transformation, the legacy of this huge shift in technology. I love this slide because it's the whole story right here. On the left, you've got the old world, slow, messy, fragmented, with workloads that just seemed impossible. And on the right, you have the breakthrough, a clean, direct path to real-time insights, unified systems, and a whole new frontier of what you could actually do. It's the before and after picture of an entire era. And at the end of the day, that is the ultimate point. This whole story isn't just about one successful product. It's about how solving one deep, technical problem, that data bottleneck, had this massive ripple effect that changed the rulebook for some of the most important parts of our society. It's a powerful lesson in how smart, focused engineering can drive incredible change. Which leaves us with a final question to chew on. We've just looked at a huge bottleneck from the past and the breakthrough that smashed it. So if you look around today with AI and data sets that are just unbelievably huge, what's the great bottleneck now? And more importantly, what's going to be the next big idea, the next breakthrough that changes everything all over again?